knowing that on the other side, they are done and finished. So I know how they are going to end up. And that's the reason why I never give up. All right? My name is Frederick Njiri. And you know what? Interior and National Administration Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen has defended President William Ruto's comments on abduction, which drew criticisms on Monday. In his remarks, the president stated that his administration would ensure that no more abduction take place. However, speaking, the CS said that some Kenyans misunderstood the president's remarks. Murkomen said the context in which the president spoke about abduction was about crimes in the country. The CS placed the responsibility of unmasking the abductors on the Directorate of Criminal Investigations.
On the question of abductions, I just want to say that I think many people misunderstood the president, and I've seen that it's been taken out of context when he said that we have stopped abductions and that people have been returned to their homes. The fact that we are saying as government we have been able to stop abductions. It's the same way I have told you here. We have been able to stop illegal mining in Moyale. It's the same way we have told you we have been able to stop drug trafficking or reduce drug trafficking in this area. It doesn't mean that we were the ones doing it. The same way the president spoke about we have been able to stop actions of abductions is the same way we are saying we have stopped the drug trafficking. Saying we have stopped does not mean we were doing. And I think it's very unfortunate that the president has been, and the way it has always been twisted when he says anything he says, it was his direction. The same way he has directed that we must deal with OLF, we must deal with drugs, we must deal with the illegal mining, is the same way he said we must deal with all elements related to abductions. And when we say so, the IG and the National Police Service is under policy direction of the executive led by the president to make sure that the country is safe. The day-to-day operation will go on, and as you know, the National Police Service is carrying out investigations. The DCI is carrying out investigations. People who have been found to have been involved in the abductions must be arrested and charged in court of law. In some cases, like Nakuru, the case of Brian Odhiambo, and as I promised when I went to Nakuru, the officers who were involved in arresting him or who were seen with him last have already been arrested and charged in a court of law. And any other person who will be found to have been involved in abductions will be charged in a court of law. So the context within which the president spoke about abductions is the same context he speaks about all crime.
Well, that's what he said, and this is what the president said. Now, Health Cabinet Secretary Aiden Duale has remained firm on the transfer of the staff payroll for workers under the Universal Health Coverage, or UHC. In a communique given yesterday, the Ministry of Health directed the payroll of UHC staff to be moved effectively the 1st of July. The move was reached after a meeting between the MOH county governments and representatives from health unions. As a result, county governments will be provided with additional funds for full absorption of UHC staff on permanent and pensionable basis before the expiry of their contracts. The changes received opposition from UHC workers who on Tuesday staged a protest to the Ministry of Health headquarters in Afia House.
The Sergeant at Arms, that noise you are hearing is from doctors, clinical officers, and other members of the Universal Healthcare, UHC. Mr. Speaker, could you resort to standing order number 1? You suspend the sitting for 5 minutes so that we can go and receive the memorandum. Hand over to the minister since he's now here. He has deliberately, Mr. Speaker, refused to talk to those doctors. And that's why they have strategically come when he's here, so that then we can hand over to him and interrogate. If need be, you order him to go and receive that. Both exits are blocked.
Senator.
Mr. Speaker, sir, before Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, in conclusion.
Order, senators. Let's listen in silence.
Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, you recall on the 25th of June, that is how the National Assembly continued ignoring. As people pushed, they were continuing to vote. Let us respond to the public, hear them out, so that for the first time, we capture the minister. for these members of staff who have found it impossible to get in the system.
Senate. No.
The people out there were with me. We have signed an agreement with them. And I am not budging back from that agreement. Because when leaders agree with you, an honorable senator, with a light touch, Honorable Cherargei, I will come to answer his question. He's looking at me. It's the last one. But UHC, I've answered you as you are talking to somebody. Honorable Senator. I started with you as I said, Equalization Fund is under the National Treasury. There is a secretariat. It's members of parliament who
yes, you have under a minute.
Yes, so I have answered that question. So on UHC, the question is budget. Who makes a budget? The budget is made by parliament. I told them, leave my door, come to parliament. Today, this week is a budget making process. You deal with the division of revenue bill, you deal with the county revenue allocation. I'm sure you'll add some money to the counties. Please do me a favor, cut some money, give to UHC. I will.
Well, the CS has at the same time cited fraud and double payment as the main reason behind the decision to discontinue the Edu Afya program. Duale, who was appearing before the Senate plenary, explained that the scheme was being misused. The CS was, however, quick to point out that Edu Afya was not the only scheme discontinued, but was amongst several others. Its consolidation, including all other schemes previously managed under the defunct NHIF, he said was geared at implementing the right to the highest attainable standards for all Kenyans and the right of the child.
Honorable CS, could you tell us why was the Edu Afya medical scheme, which provided comprehensive medical insurance for secondary school learners under the National Health Insurance Fund, discontinued under the current Social Health Insurance Fund program? And secondly, what are the reasons for the government's failure to provide last expense compensation for Mr. Elias Majao Muta, whose son, Master Robin Murimi Majao, a Form 3 student at Kibera Secondary School, passed away on 9th September 2022.
Education engaged the former National Hospital Insurance Fund to provide a comprehensive medical insurance cover for all students in public secondary schools. This scheme was branded Edu Afya, commenced on 1st of May 2018, and was renewable annually for a period of 5 years, lapsing 31st of December. Honorable Speaker, this scheme was rolled out through the National Education Information System, NEMIS. There are several challenges that were found in that system. Fraud, misuse, double payment were made to health institutions arising from a single treatment. And if the senator wants those information, I can provide the names and the institutions. As such, it was found to be unsustainable, and the government resolved to reconsolidate all these special schemes into one, the Social Health Authority benefit package. Therefore, Honorable Speaker and Senators, the consolidation of the Edu Afya scheme with all the schemes that were managed by the defunct NHIF is geared at implementing the right to the highest attainable standards for all Kenyans. And
now, around 70 billion shillings has up to date been disbursed through the Financial Inclusion Fund, the government-run credit facility commonly known as the Hustler Fund. Cooperative and SMEs Cabinet Secretary Wycliffe Oparanya has revealed. Now, Oparanya told senators during a plenary session at Parliament buildings in Nairobi that the fund has up to date reached over 25 million Kenyans, 48% of whom are women. He said that out of the fund's borrowers, 2 million have since been promoted to bridging band and qualify for bigger loans.
The fund has served over 25 million Kenyans across the country through the digital lending platform using both feature, Mulikamwisi and smartphone, to date dispersing about 70 billion, with women accounting for 48% of the total beneficiaries. The Hustler Fund credit model is inclusive, requiring no collateral or credit history, thereby enabling women with limited financial background to access the funding.
I want the Honorable CS, because in his other life he was very clear that we need to hold the President to his promise that this Hustler Fund was supposed to be a grant and not a loan, and that therefore the people who borrowed this money need not pay that money back. That was the position we held together with the CS. I want him to confirm, Honorable Speaker, what plans are there to make sure that the people who are listed as defaulters of this particular Hustler Fund are made to pay back this money, now that he has taken a diametrically opposite position.
I don't remember. I know we were in the same boat that time. But I never heard of this money being a grant. That was the truth. I only was in the same boat when we were saying that this money should not be paid. But now I'm in a different boat. I'm saying that Kenyans who have borrowed this money should pay. So I know there are bad debts. I've admitted myself that there are bad debts, and we're working to see how that can be recovered. But one member said that I paid the 6,000. 6,000 was a promise by Asmio, and as you know, Asmio lost the election. So maybe you organize yourself so that if Asmio comes into power, if they have a chance of coming into power, then they can be able to pay for the 6,000.
Now, a section of members of parliament from Western Kenya have castigated the leasing of Nzoia Sugar Company by the government, saying the tendering process was not above board. The MPs have now threatened to lead demonstrations to reverse the decision, which they say will reverse the gains in the region. Their sentiments come on the heels of protests reported in Nzoia, where farmers and residents engage in running battles with police to protest the leasing agreement.
I was with the President, William Samoei Ruto, Honorable Sifuna, when we were having the economic forum that was to be held in Bungoma. The issue of leasing has come after elections. My friend, we want to stop these political turncoats. We cannot always be telling people this route. Now we are starting to learn some leaders. If they tell you that come and meet me there, if you want to meet them, you go there.
As members of parliament, we don't support it, and we are going to use all mechanism, even if it's mandamano, even if it's using the law, the courts. And we want also to know why is it that we had a court order and the court order was not respected.
This is daylight robbery. There is no other way of putting it. This is daylight robbery. And the issues that have been raised here, number one, there needs to be a transparent process. If you go to Bungoma, the people of Bungoma want Nzoia to be fully functional. They want the machines to work.
Earlier on, there was a law that the sugar bill that passed in Parliament. It was said that only mills will be allowed to import sugar. Now, the mills have been given to some people who are known to be not very good characters to run. So when now, some of these mills might not even crush sugar. They might just have tokenism, but the main business will be to dump Brazilian sugar in the economy, which has been the reason why sugar in Western Kenya has never taken off.
Difficult for me to accept that in the entire world, there are only 2 or 3 families that can run sugar mills in Kenya. If you put out an international tender, and only 2 families from Kenya are the ones that are responding to that tender, there's a problem. Have the people who run sugar mills in Brazil, have they heard that Nzoia was looking for a strategic investor? How is it possible that we do an international tender and the respondents are not international people? They are just Kenyans here.
running around from Webui.
Now, workers of the Chemelil Sugar Factory in Kisumu have downed their tools, demanding full payment of their salary arrears before the mill is taken over by Kibos Sugar Millers under a 30-year lease agreement. James Agumba, Assistant Secretary of the Kenya Union Sugar Plantation and Allied Workers, staged a demonstration at the facilities. They insist that the MOU between the Sugar Workers Union must be fully honored before proceeding with the factory's leasing process. They raised concern that the leasing is progressing despite unresolved issues in the MOU, including the payment of salary arrears, job security, and compensation of retirees.
Compelling the government that we want our salaries for April immediately before we transit into the next dispensation of leasing. Today. Yes. Another thing we are saying, that it was entrenched in that memorandum of understanding that there was going to be recognition to the union. Yesterday was what was meted by employees inside here. The first day that the lease started this work, there was a compelling demand from employees that they could not continue with such element of intimidation because the new leasee has intimidated employees to the extent that he's complaining that there are too much staff at the factory. So from where we stand, we are telling the government that we are ready to go home. But the first demand that we are saying, we want our money, salary arrears must be paid to a zero balance. Zero balance. Before we transit to the next dispensation.
You saw what happened in Pan Paper. You saw what happened in KCC. You saw what happened in the Kenya Railways. You saw what happened in Muwani next to us here. We don't want that to happen to us when we are still alive in Kenya. And we are saying, plus our parents and our children and everybody in this community, we are not going to accept anybody to take our sweat without paying us.
Well, it looks like there's a storm brewing in the sugar industry. The leasing for 30 years. Maybe one of the things we need to find out is who owns some of the companies that are these sugar companies are being leased to. Because in Kenya, nothing is just that. There's always something behind something behind something. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's the story of Kenya. Unfortunately, because we've been seeing it for a very long time, the mindset of the people has become so suspicious every time something like this is done. Well, at least 132 senior police officers will be promoted to high ranks after successful interviews by the National Police Service Commission. The interviews, which began on Tuesday and will end today, will see the promotion of officers from the ranks of Chief Inspector to Assistant Superintendent of Police. The National Police Service Commission Chief Executive Officer Peter Lele said the senior officers who are currently being interviewed have undergone promotional courses in Kiganjo and Emali police colleges. The commission also said that as part of taming bribery and corruption during recruitment, they will bank on the technology where interested candidates will share their credentials through digital platforms.
We've had a robust program for the senior officers who are aspiring to progress into higher ranks from Chief Inspector to ASP and above. And they've undergone a lot of trainings, both at Kikanjo and Emali. And I want also to start by saying the command led by the Inspector General has done a good job. And we are confirming through these interviews that a lot of work has gone into the programs of equipping our police officers to perform better.
Aya, sasa wacha tuangalie magazeti like we did yesterday. Which one do you want us to start with? Yesterday Wafula had said the nation, we started with the nation. Okangita. Ama waliaula. Which newspaper do you want us to start? Aba Nukoviru. All right, let's just start with the nation. Gachagua rattles opposition talks. By the way, the former deputy president is launching his party today. And it says here, as opposition chiefs explore talks on a joint flag bearer to face off with President Ruto in 2027, former deputy president Rigathi Gachagua has stirred up controversy by insisting ex-Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i should shun Jubilee and instead front his own party. Really? And then, why is he dictating again? Kafafa, the silent slavery behind torture, abuse of Kenyans in Saudi Arabia. When were they released? Gen Z protesters' mothers now ask Ruto. They are young people who disappeared during the Gen Z's protests, and up to today they are yet to be found, and their mothers are crying. And when the president said during an interview that all people who had been abducted have been released, now mothers are asking, when were our kids released? Because we ain't seen them yet. Gachagua rattles opposition with party advice for Matiang'i. Is the DCP, is it DCP, Gachagua set to reveal new party? Whoa. Okay. Then hidden taxes, painful changes in finance bill. This finance bill, Aki Manenos. CBK grapples with aging staff. Police shoot themselves on the foot in title race. And murder trial of ex-Kenya and Gor midfielder Okoth begins. The Standard, UON going down. The University of Nairobi, long hailed as Kenya's leading institution of higher learning, is in a steep decline. Whispers of scandal, political meddling, and power struggles now echo through its once hallowed halls, where generations of the country's top talent were shaped. As internal crises mount, a risk joining the growing list of collapsing public institutions. The question now is, who will step up to save it? Me, teacher. It's very unfortunate, truly unfortunate. And let me tell you, whenever you see this kind of thing happening, it's all about money. I wish we were in a military, setup, because, I don't know, there are times you just take people and you take them to Uhuru Park and you make them an example. Let those who have ears. That's the reason why Rwanda, this would not pass in Rwanda. It wouldn't. You'd find yourself in a very uncomfortable place. But here people just do it. This is the education of hundreds of thousands of students that is at stake. Hundreds of thousands of students that is at stake. And you find probably it's around 4 people who are causing all these problems. Aye. Ruto, the diplomatic chama prone to occasional blunders. Gachagua's new party launch, why it won't be a smooth ride. Who will fix the tangled mess at UON amid fights for mega assets? It's all about money. Just take the whole bunch of them, put them on a plane, take them to Kismayu. Right in the middle of nowhere, just leave them there. Let them fight for the assets there. It's just annoying. Some greedy people are causing an entire institution to go down. Anyway. Budget setback cast doubt on online police recruitment drive. Then TSC, we need 70 billion to hire 96,461 teachers. Then SHA will lift the health burden unlike NHIF, Duale tells Senate. Activists are now challenging Makau Mutua's hiring as Ruto's special advisor. Now, Makau Mutua was one of the most toughest critics of the president. So ni kazi alikuwa kitafuta. Sports, it's advantage for Gor Mahia as police and Tusker drop points. I've come to learn something in this country. If you criticize something so much, you end up being employed. Ruto pro-China speech triggers uproar in USA. Now what? A US senator says America should review relations with Kenya. So that what happens? The USA and France are the biggest hypocrites in the world. The USA and China and France are the reason why the Sahel region is in the kind of mess it is. And mostly so France, and I'll say this again. France is a fourth world country. It is extremely poor. It survives on the blood of Francophone African countries. If you do your research, it is the most ridiculous thing in the world. France claims to have a gold reserve in billions of dollars, yet it doesn't have gold mines. It's been taking gold from, the Sahel region, Burkina Faso, Mali, and the rest, and taking it to their country and then selling it as their own. It is just immoral. And it's the time I think these imperialist and colonial masters were basically shown the door. The British are not any better anyway. And that's the reason why Europe now is talking about taking action against the Sahel, the countries within the Sahel. What they're saying is that because Russia and China have gone in, then they need to find ways of destabilizing the region and retaking the area. Very, very unfortunate that these colonial guys still think colonial. They think Africa is a place where they come to steal resources. And they've been stealing that for years. They've been doing that for years. And I think the time has come for our leaders to just develop some guts, like Ibrahim Traore and the Sahel region leaders, the three countries, Niger and Mali, and decide to do something. Resist these guys. Make decisions that are good for your country, not good for your stomach or good for the imperialist. Make decisions that are good for the country. I saw a report that was made that France and the Western countries had refused to sell Burkina Faso's arms to defend itself against terrorists. And then the French army was actually feeding the terrorists with weapons so that they can destabilize Burkina Faso and that France can continue raping the country of its resources. Shame on you, France. Shame on you, America. Now they're talking about Kenya, eh? And then there's Lenaola raises alarm of a neglect of boys. True. True. Do you know I can ask Wandai to shut down these memes? They've done a cartoon of the CS ICT Kabogo, who he's literally basically taking a lot of fire. Quite a number of people saying that he's totally clueless on what happens in that department. Well, China, Ruto pro-China, and then you have some interesting pictures here. The bromance between Ruto and Biden. You remember Biden naming Kenya as, the closest ally of NATO, non-member NATO friend. And now Americans are saying, wacha tuangalie our relationship with these guys. Gachagua to unveil party, setting stage for battle with Ruto. And then we go back to the Star, the back page, KPL race wide open. Leaders, Kenya Police, Tusker FC drop points as 5 teams are embroiled in a final clash for title. Nimemaliza Mangaset. Now, today we got Your Faith today at 9, and we'll have some interesting music and interviews of preacher and just conversations about how you can improve your faith. You can build your faith. And so don't miss out on that. And then at 2, kama kawaida, every Tuesday and Thursday we have Manukato, Teddy, and DJ Shaw doing their thing. All right, I'm really hungry, so I'm just going to walk out and just go take some tea, and if the grace of our Lord permits, kamandazi akatakuwa mbaya, ndio. Sawa sawa.
You are watching EBN TV, transforming your world. You are watching EBN TV, transforming your world.
EBN TV cares about the growth of your business. To advertise with us,